everyone, I'm Emily Bogner. I am a first year student in Jack Sain's lab, also known as the FAVE lab, which stands for Functional Anatomy and Vertebrate Evolution. And I just kind of wanted to discuss a little bit my thoughts on starting a PhD program in the midst of a pandemic. Hopefully by the time you all start next fall, this will be just a memory of the past, but if not, I just still wanted to share some thoughts with you to kind of give you some insight. And also, if you have any questions about anything personal that we went through, just any specific questions, feel free to send me an email, let me know, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. When I was in your spot a year ago interviewing, COVID wasn't really, it was on the radar, but it wasn't on the radar for the United States. And then once I did get accepted, still wasn't on the radar for the United States. And then between the months of March and May, it really became on the radar. Things were starting to shut down. And the school was letting us know and giving us the option that if we did want to defer a year, we could based on everything that was happening. My advisor let me know that whatever we wanted to do, whatever we thought was safe for us, whatever we thought was going to work for us and what we could produce our best work with, he was fine accommodating us for what we wanted and needed to do. So I ultimately decided to obviously come to Berkeley and not defer. I talked with a couple first year students from personal friends I knew who had just started their PhD and they were going through that transition, and I had asked them if, looking back on it, everything that you have done throughout this first semester and a half, if you had to do it again, but you weren't able to do it, like have in-person classes, weren't able to go into the lab, weren't able to have a lot of those kind of like organic relationships and conversations, would you do it or would you defer a year? And ultimately they all said that a lot of what you do your first year is you're doing a lot of literature review, you're doing a lot of reading, which would make it easy and does make it easy to be able to start the program, but you're not missing out on a lot of that in-person activity or material because a lot of what you're doing is literature review, trying to find gaps in the research and just identify where you want to take your project. So I ultimately did decide, obviously, to come to Berkeley and not defer. And I moved out here at the very end of July. I took 10 days to drive from Pennsylvania, kind of through the southern half of the United States and come into California. And I was here for about a month before classes started, which was really nice. It helped me kind of get in tune with the area. I got to meet up with one of my lab mates and form a relationship with her. And we were kind of able to navigate this weird world together because she was also from the Eastern United States as well. And so we were able to navigate it together, which was really great to have someone who was going through the exact same thing you were, and we could just bounce ideas off of each other and thoughts and feelings, anything we were going through, which was really nice. Once classes did start is when I did start to feel a little like I was missing out. When I was on Zoom calls, you know, it's hard when anyone who had started not during the pandemic, they had already formed organic relationships with people that had been able to meet in person, talk in person. And it did make me realize that it is pretty difficult to kind of form relationships over Zoom and like with your classmates. So that was a little bit of a transition and that was a little hard. And I did make friends through Zoom and I did get to know my classmates really well. And in spite of everything, it was great. You do learn that the biology department with the students is a really great community and everyone's there helping each other, and just any questions I had, any students were very accommodating and just wanted to help in any way they could. Obviously, it's not ideal. I do wish I could have met everyone naturally and organically just through in-person classes, but what can you do, you know? The next thing I wanted to touch on was what it was like living in Berkeley during a pandemic and kind of moving across the country. Moving across the country was relatively easy. I do feel like I've missed out a little bit on like not knowing where to go or like just things to do outside of class. I do have a dog, so anything I do outside of school is kind of for her. We go to dog parks, we go on hikes and whatnot, but like I feel like I haven't been able to really get to know Berkeley, like just going out and trying new bars, trying new food places. So I feel like I have acclimated to Berkeley, but I don't know Berkeley, if that makes sense at all. And then I think the third thing I wanted to touch on was the research aspect. Definitely, I do think that the research aspect is pretty easy. I've just been doing a ton of reading this semester, or during the fall semester, I've just been doing a ton of reading papers, identifying gaps in literature, and kind of formulating where and what I want my project to be. But I still feel like even with that, there were times where I didn't feel motivated, or it was hard to get myself motivated to want to read papers, to get excited. And that kind of brought me down a little bit too, was that I just got my master's. I felt like I was such a go-getter. I was always on top of things, doing things, wanting to do things, just getting things done, reading as many papers, writing, trying out this method, trying out that method. And I was realizing it was really hard for me to kind of grasp is that I didn't feel that excitement doing that research this fall semester. And I went through a period where I was like, oh no, did I make this big decision and maybe this isn't actually what I want? But like after reflecting a lot, and talking with my lab mate and just other people, I realized that no, I do still have those passions. This is still the career and opportunity that I want to pursue. It's just, it is hard, and it can bring you down a little bit when you're sitting in your apartment or just one space all day and you don't get to have that human interaction. It can take a lot of the excitement out of this amazing opportunity. And that was hard for me. But once I identified that issue, then I was able to kind of overcome it, think of ways to re-get myself excited. And it was hard, and I still feel like I'm not at 100%, but it does get easier, especially once you identify the issue and you do acknowledge it and let yourself know that this is okay to feel that way. It's okay not to feel 100%. What I am excited about is during the spring semester, I already have plans that I'll be coming into the lab pretty regularly. I'll actually be able to start doing some methods and working on research, which is going to be exciting. Still doing a ton of reading and identifying gaps in research, but I am going to have more of a hands-on aspect, which I'm really excited for, and I'm hoping really drives me and gets me back to that 100% excitedness that I felt when I got accepted, when I went to interview here, and like I felt throughout my master's. Happy to answer any questions you may have. This is a really difficult time, so just getting as many points of view as possible is always a plus. But good luck, and I look forward to meeting